Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Cinderella 3: A Twist in Time. This is no Back to the Future. No, it's no Terminator uh, or any other time travel type film. Um, this is one of those direct-to-video sequels that Disney was making a lot of on VHS, and I guess by 2007 when this came out. By the way, this is an hour and 18 minutes long. Technically, it is because I watched it to the very end, and the last like 11 minutes is just foreign credits, so it's a whole lot less than an hour and 18 minutes. But that's what we're gonna go with. It's like I said, it's from 2007, and starting in the 2000s, they started churning out a number of different sequels to all the old school classics, even some of the more modern Renaissance classics, and some of them are of varying levels of quality. I expected to fully hate this, and I didn't. It's not great. The animation is sort of bland in some ways. It's very colorful. It's very approachable for kids. Obviously, um, it vacillates between trying to mimic the old school, the original film. I don't know if they did like rotoscoping, motion capture, whatever the process they use, like they did in the old films back in the day, because there seemed to be a lot of movement that was realistic, but they went super minimal and soft with, especially Cinderella's features, and if you could have picked a more plain looking prince, if you could have designed a more plain looking prince, I should say, uh, I don't know. I don't know how you could have. He's just look at him. He's so like Ken doll. It just it's so clean lines. There's nothing interesting about his look whatsoever. However, he's portrayed pretty decently by the guy who did the voice, Christopher Daniel something. I'm sorry, his name is really long. It's like three words. It's not showing me clearly here. Okay, I'll tap it. Christopher Daniel Barnes. Now, he 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 performs him adequately. Obviously, in the original, there's not a ton of Prince time. He gets a lot more time in this film to be a character. Um, Cinderella also gets a little bit more time with humans than animals in this case, although she does have sidekicks, Jacques and Gus, helping her out along the way. Uh, they're the thing that pretty much keeps things running. They find things out for her that no human would have access to, and they keep the story moving along. So it's kind of good that they're there, and for the plot, yes, you need the talking mice. And it turns out that Cinderella isn't the only one who can speak to mice. They, at one point, get to talk to the prince and relay some information. And, of course, everybody thinks he's crazy, especially his dad, the king, that he's been talking to mice. And, well, that's a little bit further into the story than I really wanted to go. But the point of this twist in time, is that it's the basis here is that it's the 1 year anniversary of their marriage, and fairy godmother's back. All the forest animals are hanging out in the woods, and they're all building up for a big party. And Cinderella and the prince, he's just Prince Charming. Prince Charming, they ride in on horseback in the most minimal animated way possible, and who happens to be watching them and following them but Anastasia, one of her stepsisters. And she's, by the way, she's played by Tress MacNeille. You'll know her from The Simpsons. She's got a ton of voices. Agnes, Skinner, Dolph, all sorts of things. And every once in a while, you can hear those Simpsons characters coming through. Rusty Taylor also, who recently passed, she's fairy godmother, and she's also Minnie Mouse, and Nelson. not Nelson, sorry, not Nelson, Martin from The Simpsons. So yeah, you'll recognize a number of different voices, especially if you're a Simpsons fan like me. Um, but the great the stepmother, the evil stepmother kind of thing, Suzanne Blakesley. I don't know her name as well, but she plays a great evil stepmother. She's very the way they animate her. They do it again minimally, but she doesn't have to do a whole lot to be menacing. Um, I'll get into the really will get into the story here. So when Anastasia stumbles upon their party, she realizes, oh, she got the prince through magic. Well, that's all I ever wanted really myself was to find true love, just like anybody else. So wow, what if I got a hold of that wand and it literally just about falls into her lap while things are being put together. Somehow, Fairy Godmother lets it out of her grasp, and Anastasia grabs it and runs home and says, "Look, this is what happened. This is how Cinderella got the prince." And her mom just goes, "A stick," which I know that's not a humongous line, but the delivery, there's a lot more comedy in this. Like, it's how it's delivered. I can't explain it. I'm not saying this is a great film by any means, but there are little great moments, dialogue wise, delivery. This movie has so much slapstick to fill in the spaces. Where you look at Cinderella as a classic of animation and just the beauty and the elegance and the music and everything else. And while there is music in here, songs that are they're all right. Um, it's so chock full of animation. It's so much about keeping the attention of the little ones who might be watching this. It is not highbrow. The sisters are always fighting. There's all sorts of slapstick. There's even a pie fight at one point. Yeah, it's it's funny. It's a low barrier to entry when it comes to comedy, but every once in a while there's these deliveries of lines. The mother, even Prince Charming has a good number of lines when he's a bit confused as to who he's supposed to be in love with, and again, getting back to the story. Sorry, I keep getting off here. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but I'm going to tell you enough to set this thing and why it was actually not bad, like some of the other direct-to-videos movies. Anastasia brings it back to her family, and then they suddenly realize, oh, this really is magic. This is a wand, not a stick. And the words she needed to know is bippity boppity boo. And in a truly evil moment, it's just you could feel it. It was kind of actually evil. She attaches it. And she goes like nobody believes in magic 1 minute, and next minute she's like, okay, bippity boppity boo. Let me use this to change time, and the effects, the animation for just her casting the spell is very Maleficent like, and it's got the purples and the greens and everything else. So it was kind of cool the way they did that. And she decides right off the bat, without even thinking, turn back time to when it all went bad, and she goes stop, and it's the point where the prince has already danced with Cinderella, and he's out looking to figure out who wore this glass slipper that he found, and and actually that answers one of the big questions. They're like, hey, if this shoe fits so perfectly, why did it fall off? And two, what are the odds that she's the only girl with this exact foot size? Like, come on, you're going through the entire kingdom and there's one girl with this 1 foot size? Like, come on. Well, with a little bit of magic, he's led to believe that Anastasia is the woman that he danced with the night before. And he knows it's not. And he's just like, well, the shoe fits, and there's a decree. And he's like, I think I made a mistake. This was probably for somebody else. Well, magic makes the shoe fit. And Anastasia, even though she realizes that her mom's rigging the game for her, she feels a little bit guilty through most of this. She wants somebody to like her for who she is, and not be shoehorned, in a sense, into a relationship. And everything that the mother does is to uh, put a spell on the prince and change his mind and change perception so that he falls for her daughter, and through him they can get all sorts of wealth and power. Which, realize that technically, why would you even bother? If you have the fairy godmother's wand and you can turn back time for a full year, why aren't you just using it to change everything? Like, oh, hey, boom, now we are the kings. She's the queen of everything, and she doesn't. They don't have to worry about doing it. Getting power through marriage or anything. I don't. I don't know. I don't know why that's necessary, but I think we wouldn't have a movie if that was the case, and we wouldn't learn lessons about true love. Um, the funny thing is that yes, at one point you have to know that Prince Charming is going to figure out what's going on, and when he does eventually, you still got a half an hour left in this movie, and I'm thinking, well, this should have been a very simple. Okay, we wrapped up. We figured out what's going on. True love. Oh, I found you, and then they take it another step. The fairy godmother, the not the fairy godmother, the evil stepmother is not done, and that leads to a sequence that is a dark perversion of the original Bippity Boppity Boo carriage scene, where the pumpkin, what the little pumpkin turns into a carriage. Well, this is a very dark carriage, and Lucifer gets involved, which is the cat, not actual Satan or anything, but the cat gets involved, and she's out to basically kill off Cinderella. And it's kind of cool, and it's a big action sequence that you would see in any kind of live action film, that except it involves talking mice and a runaway gnarly pumpkin carriage. So yeah, it's the kind of thing that actually works out well. While again, how they animate her is like very, like she's got the Rachel cut or something, or whatever the hot haircut is in 2007 or whenever they were animating this. You put that in there, and it looks like, yeah, Cinderella just upgraded her look and her style. She's kind of scruffy here and there when she's disheveled and not very princessy. Um, his hair never moves, but she's all sort of rough and tumble at times. Um, it's kind of they updated it from 1950 or 60, whenever the original movie came out, and then suddenly it's 2007, and her look is, I can't explain it, but they're all over the place with different styles on these characters. It's like they're in totally separate movies. Between the original look of the fairy godmother, pretty much the same. Prince Charming, Cinderella, the evil stepmother, all of them. It seemed like they're all in different movies. I realize different animation teams are responsible for different characters, but yeah, it doesn't always fit together perfectly. It's not bad. It's just not smooth. It's just not great. But if this wasn't Disney, if this was allowed to get a little bit more of an edge, I think this would have been the kind of thing that would have. This was on the edge of being on the edge, let's just say, between some of the dialogue and how they told the story. So I would actually kind of recommend watching this. I like time travel stories. This is not so much time travel as just messing with time and getting a do-over, and ruining that happily ever after, and rewriting the story, and in the favor of the bad guys. And will true love prevail? Will Anastasia? One of the great things about this is that they don't paint the stepsisters, or at least Anastasia, as just full-on evil. She's just like they showed her in the original film. They're not attractive. The stepdaughters or stepsisters are not attractive. They're kind of mean, but in reality, they make Anastasia a sympathetic character. So she's not pushing it, and I think we get a sort of a secondary hero in Anastasia, and showing that not all the pretty people are good and not all the ugly people are bad. So It's kind of a weird, not a weird little lesson, but it's a rare little lesson because we seem to see that pretty good, ugly, bad in a lot of Disney stuff. So I'm gonna actually recommend it. I know it seems like it wouldn't be a thing. Again, it's not going to change your world. It's not for everybody. It's not meant for people my age necessarily. But if you're stuck in a room with a child and a child says, "I want to watch something on Disney Plus, something with a princess," and you've seen all the other ones over and over again, maybe you could try Cinderella 3 and give it a shot, and you might like it. It's not going to be your favorite movie ever, but it is not going to be a slog, as some movies can be meant for children. So that's my recommendation. Let's pick tomorrow's episode. There's something else I wanted to tell you, but I can't think of what it was. Yeah, well, I'll think of it. Too late.
157.
157. Did we just have 158? I think we did. Yeah, we did. We did have 158. That was DuckTales. Jeez. So that means we're in the D's. But it's not more DuckTales. 157 is Drain the Titanic. We're doing a documentary, a Nat Geo documentary. I think it's Nat Geo, I'm pretty sure it is. They do all these drain things. Last one we had to drain the Bermuda Triangle. This one's Drain the Titanic. So we'll be able to knock that out. It's probably just one episode. And we'll learn what it looks like. James Cameron will probably be very proud that we watched this. And God knows he's probably in this somehow. So Drain the Titanic on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. See you back here tomorrow.